Ano kesti o opanestin. The stream is indeed live. And Umakanto loquisi Pulan. Double threat. Kumekwento sa sumasangan.
Hutungu nai si Jesus sinya makanta.
Sino itu kumanta?
Uhungo ki kantanya pari kantan sama.
Sino itu kumanta? Baba itu kumanta.
We are live. All right. Maulaka Torugi stream. All right. Hafade todos hamzugwana hudzung estiu nuevo na episode Fanachu podcast. Guahui host midzutala si Michael Luhan Bavakwa. And welcome to another episode of the Fanachu podcast. Very happy to be with you all. I do want to highlight something. It is August 2nd, 2023. And for those of you who are a little bit more critical, a little bit more radical, those of you who sort of, used to hang out with Angel Santos or wished that you were hanging out with Angel Santos, this is an important day in Guam history because this is the day that a young Chamorro serving in the Spanish militia on Guam, Jose Salas, assassinated the Spanish governor of Guam. And so Jose Salas was part of a plot, an alleged plot involving dozens of other Chamorros who were serving in the Spanish military, where they allegedly were going to kill the Spaniards on the island and other key officials in the Spanish government, and they were going to take over the government for the Chamorro people. And so a few dozen Chamorros were put on trial in the Philippines. More than 30 were put in prison. Some were released, and 4 of those men were executed by firing squad on the beach in Hagatnya. And so on Fanachu, we love to talk about history. That's one of the reasons why this exists, why this podcast exists. That's why we have things like Radical Readings, the Secret Guam podcast, just more ways to tell the Chamorro story, and in particular, tell the stories that Chamorros might have forgotten, or tell the stories that people might, that might have been lost or kind of hidden, right? Stories of resistance. But that's why, it is because of this that I'm very excited that Ed Leon Guerrero, or Pulan Speaks, and also Jesus Luhan, who both come from the Manåmko to Manhoben project, that they accepted the invitation to come on to Fanachu and then talk about a project that they have been, talk about their work in documenting, collecting, and then disseminating Chamorro oral histories, or oral histories about Chamorro culture, Chamorro past, but also even Chamorro resistance. And so they've collected a number of long form interviews with people that are masters of culture, with veterans, with artists, with all sorts of people from all walks of life. And they have even had a number of events in which they are putting videos, sort of short videos and long videos, out into the community. And I want to highlight, because if you aren't familiar with the Manåmko to Manhoben project, be sure to check them out on YouTube. They have a number of their videos that are available for free for people to check out on YouTube. And so you can see some of the people here: Judy Flores, the recently passed away Simataga, David Sablan, Luhan Sablan, Emily Sablan, Anthony Guerrero, who with his father was a master taladzero maker. And so follow them on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, because the stuff that they're putting out is wonderful. Because I love the juxtaposition of talking about fishing, but talking about life on the ranch, talking about the kåntan Chamorrita, but then also making time and putting as just as important and valuable the stories of those who protested, the stories of those who got arrested for standing up for sort of the rights and the lands of the Chamorro people. And so I'm very, very excited to hear what they have for us today in terms of talking about their work. Pulan, por favor, go ahead and get us started. Introduce yourself, and then Jesus can introduce himself as well.
Yes, yes, yes. Dunklin Asadus Masi Simaget for that tremendous introduction there. 5 out of 5. Yes, my name is Edward Leon Guerrero, or I go by my stage name as well, Pulan Speaks. And I'm the co-director of the Manåmko to Manhoben project. And let's give it to Jesus to introduce himself real quick.
Okay. I'm Jesus Lujan. I'm a middle school teacher, a Chamorro middle school teacher at Antala Middle School. I am the most recent addition to Manamko to Manhoben. My job is principally to translate the Chamorro interviews and to transcribe them so that we can put subtitles on them for those that don't speak Chamorro.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. Yeah. So what is the Manåmko to Manhoben, and who are we? Who are the members of our group? So again, as I said in the beginning, I was a co-director. The other co-director is Kelly Marsh Titano, former Senator Kelly Marsh Titano. She is the one that actually got me into this project. And so Manåmko to Manhoben, as Miguel eloquently stated in the beginning, it's a project meant to document Manåmko, and not just certain types of Manåmko. You don't have to be a former senator, you don't have to be a governor, you don't have to have a PhD, but really we are looking for any type of Manåmko, from fishermen to teachers to even my grandmother, who was a homemaker, right? And it started in 2021. It was during the heights of the pandemic, where the governor was going to award about $36.8 million in education stabilization fund, right, under the Youth Empowerment Grants, the Education Assistant Program. And so me and Kelly, we got together. Again, she got me into this, and then we both decided to apply for this grant. And the focus of our grant was, of course, to create oral histories to document the Manåmko, because we were noticing something very troubling. And it's that during the pandemic, so many of our Manåmko were passing away, so many of them. And, we don't want their knowledge, we don't want their understanding of history, their skills to disappear along with them. And that is why we put it to ourselves, me and Kelly, that we are going to document this. I have a little experience in video editing and filmmaking, based on my prior community service with a YouTube channel. And so I decided to utilize that for this project. And we also partnered up with the Guam Museum as well, so that we could then give our videos and have them utilize it as well. So again, we have all these interviews that we've conducted. And the thing that I would say that makes us more unique, right, is that we're going to make it, again, it's going to be all for the public, all on YouTube, all on social media, and it's going to be available for everyone. Again, no price tag at all, right? And so let me just say, so me and Kelly were co-directors, and then who else is in our group? Because of course, with our team, everyone in our team made a significant contribution in their own way. So first, let me acknowledge the current members, right, where we have Jesus right down there, and he already mentioned a little bit about himself. He's an absolutely valuable person here because he is incredibly fluent in the language, incredibly amazing, more so than I will ever be, right? So yeah, so he right there. We also have the great Vanessa Duenas, right, who is also apprenticing for Mama Chai, the Sarahana, who we actually interviewed and will showcase one of her videos today. She was excellent. She runs social media. And we also have another video editor. His name is Dean Couts, and he's great at video editing. And then there were other members, who for reasons, they couldn't stay on the project due to other things with life. And, foremost, I want to acknowledge Alex White, tremendous guy. He was in our project. He was tremendous. You know, he brought to the table a technicality, right, that allowed our project to reach the level as it is now. You know, he brought the equipment, and that's why he is credited. If you notice in especially the longer videos, he is credited as Fafanagui, which means, one who teaches, teacher, because he exactly did that. He helped us achieve this level. So credit where credit is due to Alex White, amazing person, great person. And then two other members who couldn't, for some reasons or another, had to leave the project as well, included Kat Paris, again, another wonderful person to have, very great, and Kia Tooncap, which again, another great person. So yeah, so again, as of right now, we've interviewed more than 12 people, and we have about 70 videos from those interviews. And we're slowly but surely posting them all on the YouTube page for everyone to watch. And now we're just going to talk about a little bit about now our personal experiences with this project. So Jesus, would you like to talk about a little bit about your personal experience so far?
Sure. So as I said, I translate for the group and I provide transcriptions. It's been a great help for me too, improving my Chamorro, because I'm still learning Chamorro, right? As many other young Chamorro teachers are. And it's I've had to go into dictionaries and find out what exactly does that mean, so it's helped me myself to kind of strengthen my language, because obviously we're talking to fluent speakers and they have a very broad vocabulary that you don't always touch on all of it as you're learning a language. So that's been very helpful to me. One thing that I love about this project is that this is a very diverse project. When you talk about the people that we interview, also the people that are on our team, right? So you're getting a perspective from different walks of life. And this project is really going to be, it's historical, right? And it's history through the eyes of everyday people, which I think history often forgets about, right? For me, history is about everybody in the world and their experience, right? Everyone has a piece of history. But unfortunately, if you open a history book, usually that's not the case, right? We focus on elites, we focus on kings and rulers and stuff. But this project is really showing us what life was like for everyday people, for Chamorros and non-Chamorros, through different decades in the past 100 years. There's a range of age groups, right? There are people that are just above 60, and there are people that are into their 80s and almost 90s, right? That we interviewed. So it's quite a diverse, group of people, and they all come from diverse experiences. So that's something to be appreciated as well. And yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Right. No, thank you for that. And yeah, and just to highlight, just how, diverse and special this project is, and the need for it is that two people that we interviewed, have already passed away, right? And we managed to get their stories before they passed away. One of them was David Lujan Sablan, right? Mataga, who was an instrumental part in Nation Samoru, protesting at Adaloop, and you get to see and hear his story. But it's even more than that, right? It's that his family who are now able to see his story, right, transcend beyond his current life now that he's passed on. It will now live forever. And this is especially personal to me, because another person, the second person that's passed away, right after we interviewed, included my grandmother, right? Dolores Baza Tainatongo Eklavea, right? Literally a week after we interviewed her, she passed away. And we managed to catch her story. She was not a senator. She was, not a politician, that didn't have a PhD and so on. but she was my grandmother, and I would say has the experience of that, of living in Malesu. She's from Malesu, and she talks about her life growing up in Malesu. You know, how she went up and down from Malesu to the school, which I didn't even know. She went to college. I didn't even know that. So hearing these stories and getting these little what do you call it? These nuggets within the Manåmko, within people who are, you know, very unassuming, you know, is very special, because history is not just about elites, about the political elites, about outsiders coming in and dictating policies for Guam. No, we have to remember history is also about us, the everyday people, and that's what we managed to capture. So again, this project, especially with the passing of my grandmother, right, means so much to me, and that you, the audience, right, can now experience and see this, especially for the youth, Manhoben, right? Again, it's Manåmko to Manhoben, you know, the old, the elders to the young, because we have divided the videos into 3 categories. You know, we have Inagofli'i videos, which are considered very short videos, you know, typically 1 to 4 minutes, you know, to share around on social media and so on. And then we have Manhoben Sita videos, which are around 7 to 12 minutes to share it to, you know, for older audiences in high school. And then we have even more longer ones, you know, the Manhoben videos, which we share, which are, you know, longer than 15 minutes and which provides a more in-depth, you know, longer, more in-depth knowledge of the person and what they talk about. So we have videos for each audience members, from the very young to much older. And of course, you know, if you want to watch all of them, that is more power to you. But that is what we managed to do with this project. And we are excited to share some of the videos, which we have for the very end once we are done talking.
Oh, si Jus Masi no Hamzunados, then Hungan, gi isinangan mo gwana, Pulan na yun na hakasuhit sa na sen preciswesti. You remind us of the importance of this. You know, if we think back, you know, I was talking to somebody the other day about the survival of knowledge. It was around seafaring, for example. And and they were asking about, oh, but we can preserve the knowledge. And I'm like, Hungan, we can, but we also have to accept that things are different now. So for example, if you grew up in a traditional quote unquote society in the Pacific, you might spend hours in the canoe house every day, talking, carving, learning, storytelling, debating, right? Like it was a huge part of your life. Who has that type of time today, though, in order to kind of to sit next to somebody and just listen to them and talk to them? I mean, if you think about it, nowadays, people sit next to each other for long periods of time and they're on their phones thinking about other people or other places most of the time. And so, you know, the documentation of oral history is really essential, because even more than ever before in our time in history, I think we miss the value of something next to us, because everything feels like it's moving so much faster, and there's so many more things that can take your time and take your attention away. And so, you know, thinking about what you said in terms of your own grandmother, you know, that you never know when somebody might go, and then sort of not spending time with them, you know, then sort of the documentation of their story, the ability to pass it on is irreplaceable. You know, I always tell young people, in line with your project, I was giving a presentation to some of the summer interns at the Guam Museum. And I told them, do any of you have any elders who are war survivors or just really old? And all of them raised their hands. And I was like, go and then take your phone, because I know you have phones, because none of you are paying attention to me. You're all on your phones right now. take your phones, go visit them, and just press record and then tune out. Think about, oh my goodness, I can't wait for BTS, blah, blah, blah. Or, oh my goodness, TikTok is amazing, blah, blah, blah. But just let your grandparents talk and then just record it. And you don't have to pay attention to them now because you probably don't care about them right now. You probably don't care about what they're saying. And if they're speaking Chamorro, chances are good you have no idea what they're saying. But when they pass away, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, the fact that you went and you spent an afternoon with them and you let them just talk and their voice was there and their stories were there, that will be more precious to you than all of the followers that you have on TikTok, all of whatever is important to you now. And so, because the Manåmko to Manhoben project really takes that principle seriously, is that you don't know something's value while it is with you all the time, right? You don't necessarily know the value. So then you take steps to preserve it so that even those who didn't catch it in the moment will still have something to learn and draw from. And so Sidus Masi, for that, we're already getting some great comments and some great questions. So we've got Senor Lilian, Hafade, Senor Lilian Cruz, Guidze Mas Donkulu, na fan para Fanachu. And Senor Lilian says Hafade. See Annie Mitchell, Hafade Annie. Annie is also a patron for Fanachu. And she says, Sidus Masi for this good work, invaluable, real lived experiences. Senora Pat, Hafade, Senora Pat Lezama, ilek niya gofdzahui programan Midzu, Zamagad Gitituhonya, Malagodzu, Umasisti Hamzu. And so Hungan haagradesi torui tsetso minzu Hungan. And so Senora Pat really appreciates the work you are doing. And so put forward anganumaega, if you're watching, comment with some questions, and any of the live streams, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, send it to me on WhatsApp. If you have a fast Carabao, attach it to the Carabao and send it down to the Guam Museum where I'm at right now. But so I wanted to ask each of you, if you could pick one of the interviews that you found to kind of be the most surprising, because both of you are students of Guam history and Chamorro culture. You are in advanced degree programs for PhDs or masters. So, you're familiar with history, language, culture, these sorts of issues. But what was an interview that you translated or that you helped conduct, that you watched, that surprised you? It showed you something different, perhaps, that you weren't expecting.
Okay, I could go first, Jesus. So, of course, this is my grandmother, right? That's and the reason why it was so surprising is because, I grew up with her, right? I grew up here for more than 2 decades, right? And I've talked to her, but the things she revealed in the interview were things that she has never told me ever before. That even when my family members were watching the interview, they were like, huh? So it was pretty surprising. So, like I said, I had no idea that she was going to a college in the 1960s, 1970s, right? I believe it was the Territorial College. I had no idea, and it was crazy just hearing stories like that, where I had no idea, that the way she was, the way she learned how to swim was that she was just thrown in the ocean. So I had no idea about that too. So many of her stories that I would have never knew about. Never. If we didn't did this interview, because now she passed away and now I'll never have a chance. But again, with this interview that we did of her memory will live on. And now I know things about her that I would have never known before. So just on that note, just on that personal note, I would say that my grandmother was, of course, the most surprising and interesting interview. Not to say that the other ones were not, but yes.
It's hard for me to pick just one. But I want to say just in general, right? Many people think that old people are boring, but I can tell you that any old person used to be a very exciting, very interesting young person, just like the person who's listening, right? It's like we always imagined that they were always, very conservative, but you have to remember these are the people that made you, right? And if you're crazy, there's some crazy up there too. So it's like, talking to my own grandmother, there were experiences that I heard. I was like, well, can't believe that she did that. Can't believe that happened. I would say it's not really surprising. I honestly, I don't know if anything was surprising, but I think that it's enlightening. It's interesting, right? The way that our elders are, and everyone has their own piece of wisdom to give, right? So yeah, it's hard for me to name just one, but I think that every interview there are surprises, and there are, nuggets of wisdom that you didn't expect, moments of candid, talking, moments of expertise. There's so much to take from every interview, and I think that's the value and that's the wealth of this project. And I encourage everybody else to do their own, to take it upon themselves to do their own interview of their own grandparents, like you're saying, Dr. Bawakwa, because that is really, invaluable information. And then, you can record it, you cannot record it, but I think the biggest thing is that you're listening, is that, you care about what your grandparents have to say, because honestly, compared to a lot of our lives now, they lived a much more interesting life than we have. So if you're not interested in their story, what makes your story so interesting? That's what I would say.
Govzaho, no, I like that one. I'm still I think after you watch maybe 5 TikToks, that you do question sort of reality and sort of the future of humanity. Although Guahat Samoro and Mamakitinas Maulik na TikToks, yeah, I know there's some Chamorros out there that are making good TikToks and are teaching the language. Who support this?
Namin yung pag-Facebook esti mamala na pa mag-uun di managahi sa mamanag yung pag-ugi middle school that no nalagwa na ba it's they say
Hunggan.
they need to go and to some
Hunggan. And so I do want to ask I did want to ask this question though, because one of the things that I really appreciated about the selection was that normally for these types of projects, it's very, because oral history campaigns have happened in the past, but a lot of times they fall into very sort of similar sort of formats. One, it's about war stories. 2, it's simply kind of culture. It's talking about like culture. So it's not political. Or 3, it's about outside events and sort of outsiders coming to the island, right? So when I think back to a number of different sort of campaigns that different people have done to collect oral history, in the 80s, there was a big one to talk about what the naval governor's palace looked like and collect information from people who were there, people, did you meet these naval governors, right? So there's those are sort of the more traditional types. But what I loved about this one though was that it included culture, absolutely included history, but it also included advocacy, activism, and resistance. And that's something that is often left out of these things, right? Because for some people, when they collect oral history, it's just about kind of getting the good stuff, the nostalgia, the times were simpler and better back then, right? And you want to hear those stories. But what I loved is that you included Robert Celestial, who was an atomic veteran who shared his experiences cleaning up in the Marshall Islands, the nuclear contamination, and then fighting for justice and compensation along with other veterans. In addition, there's John Beneventi, who, I've heard his stories about going to the US and in the 50s and dealing with segregation in the army and outside of the army. And then also David Sablan, who similarly was a key member of Nation Chamorro and participated in so many protests. And so Pulan, for example, can you kind of talk about this? Because for me, I love it, but I think for some people, it puzzled them or it confused them because they didn't think about oral history in that way necessarily.
Yes, now that was, you hit the nail with the hammer. That was absolutely intentional. Me and Kelly, when we envisioned this project, we wanted this to be more than, like you said, interviews about the governor or about some politicians, or just cultural things. We wanted to go beyond that, to go to advocacy, activism, to experiences of segregation, like with Juan Benavente, for example, that you mentioned, or Celestial with he was a Chamorro man, right? It's a Moru man who was working in a wetak, cleaning up radiation. That's incredible. It's a Moru man going there to clean up radiation from nuclear testing. And so when we were envisioning this project, right, we wanted to ensure, we actually did a big, what do you call it? A survey per se, a survey of what's already been done, who has already been interviewed, who has not been interviewed, right? What topics need to be researched, what topics need to be documented. And from that, we narrowed it down. We got a very narrow, tailored list of things. We're like, okay, so we have here, we know that we don't have a story of, for example, a Chamorro man facing segregation, yet here Kelly knows this person, Juan Benavente, who experienced segregation, right? Experienced segregation and all that in the South in the US, right? Because he was stationed there with his wife when he was in the military. And so we wanted to bring those stories that you would not expect to hear in general oral history things, about culture. You expect to hear things like, this is a person fishing, right, and how to fish, right, which we did do as well, but we wanted this to be more holistic and put a more advocacy spin to it, because as much as we don't like to say, but history is, it's not exactly a neutral enterprise, right? It's who is creating the history, right? And what are the stories being told? Let's get these people's story to the forefront so that people in the future, right, could listen to these stories and inspire them, right? To inspire the youth. It's Manåmko to Manhoben. We want to inspire the Manhoben, the next generation or the generations to come, to continue advocacy. So that is the primary reason why we wanted to share these stories of advocacy, so we could inspire the next generation to continue moving forward. What about you, Jesus? What do you think about that advocacy and the topics so far that of the people we interviewed?
Well, I think it's obviously a great it's a great place to start by interviewing everyday people, right? But as you were talking, I actually wanted to ask you, maybe get a little bit deeper with you about, when we're listening to our elders, what is, if you were to think about every interview, not necessarily each one, but what is the message? What do we get when we learn from our elders? What do we get when we listen to their stories? What is the message that we receive about life and about people and about who we are?
Right. Oh, that's a great question, man. You should be the interviewer. Yeah. So first, I just want to say the first thing that we get is that it's really humbling. It truly is. It makes me feel very humble, because here we have these people, right, who had all these lifelong experiences, who lived, very differently from how we are. And sometimes, after the interview, they would continue talking to us and talking about our generation and so on. But it's very humbling, right? And it makes me appreciate more life in general because, you know, for example, Juan Benavente, the person, he experienced segregation, right? I can't imagine experiencing that today, you know, being discriminated purely based upon your skin color, right? And he went through that, right? And he's a survivor from that. And it just shows how different now society is today. So one and foremost, it's very humbling. And there's also many other lessons, you know, that it's good that we're more grateful, right? And we also gain just knowledge in general about how they lived in the past and that what applications could we use. You know, I made a joke to Kelly after the storm, after the typhoon, which was, you know, because Juan Benavente kept saying, you know, this generation, you know, back in my day, you know, we had to use the bathroom in an outhouse. We didn't have running water and electricity, right? You know, we had to cook with an open fire, right? And, you know, and I made a joke with Ken. I'm like, you know what? That's actually absolutely right. We're so dependent upon our technology, running water and electricity that, you know, he's probably totally fine because he could live without these modern necessities. So yes, all those things that I've mentioned.
On that topic, I just wanted to add, I like I said, I'm a Chamorro teacher, and I feel the need to teach the kids, they're in 6th grade, about the war and about, you know, the weight of the war. I invite them to ask their grandparents, great-grandparents, what they know about the war. We watch videos, you know, where people recount their own experiences. And at the end of it, I always say, boys and girls, why do you think that we're learning about this? Why is this important? And there's usually discussion, right? And inevitably, you know, I get all of their feedback. I get all of their reasonings as to why this is important, right? Same thing with oral history. And basically what I tell them is that, boys and girls, you didn't just appear out of thin air. You have a history. There were many, many people that contributed to the fact that you're alive today. And many of those people almost didn't make it. Many of those people suffered so that you could exist today. And it's important that we recognize and that we know about that. Because if there's anything to know about life, it should be where you came from, the events that made you, that led to your creation, and all of the effort, all of the love, right? That pushed people forward so that you could exist today. So I would say that's a major draw. That's a major profit that a viewer gets from asking, you know, their grandparents or their ancestors, you know, their own story, because ultimately it's your story and you have the right to know about it, and you have the right to carry it forward and to continue it. So that's one thing that I think people will get from this series and from talking to their own families about history.
Oh, Biba Sidusmasi. And, you know, I want to give some time because, Pulan, I know that you have some videos that you'd like to share. We've got some more questions, and so, but let's that people have, but let's check out some of the interviews first.
Yes. Yeah. So again, these are just short clips and a few, you know, that are 7 minutes, but of just the recent clips, which include a war survivor, someone who's in their 90s, right? A war survivor from Mama Chai, the healer, Ben Meno, Kåntan Chamorrita. So first, we're going to look at a short clip of Ben Meno, Kåntan Chamorrita. So here it is. Okay, so here it is, sharing, right?
Ibihahu, antes na na tiempo, tada elektrisidad, tada kandil, esta mapipapara antes para puengin ay, pues mahuto iguafak. Zaman historia, pues sinanambia kumanta dalegnya para esto tungo na paron sardik maigo. by kanta ji. Ang gumupo se paluma. Jatumogi trong kundoni. Tinago niya na'y sino na paray bonita tabay ko honi. Edza ba? May gudo. Gininedi kantanya. Malingwa may gohu.
Right. So that was Ben Mano who canted Chamorrita. And as you could see, how he talked about how, when he was younger, he heard his grandmother, doing, they would have the mats out, right? And the whole family would be there in the house. And then, she would do Canton Samarita, Angumu Pusi Paluma, and so on. And yeah, that was just so amazing and one of my favorite clips from him. And so now let me show one of my grandmother, actually, of her growing up in Balesu, a short clip of her now.
So when we are growing up, we usually, like on Sundays, when my parents are still alive, on Sundays, all my brothers and sisters will go to my mother's house, the ranch Geus, and my father will be buying like fish, during the week. My mother, when we come down, she'll be making titijas, the corn titijas. And then, we brought whatever we want to take down. So after the kids will be swimming in the river because my parents are staying near Geus, the Geus River. So my parents are staying there and the kids will be playing in the river, catching like shrimp or just swimming there in the river. And also after that one, after Sunday afternoon eating there, we'll all go to my sister's house. And then, the men will be making like rice and grinding the coconut, and the ladies will go all to the ocean to get some the clams. So when we finish clamping, we'll go over and they'll cook it, and then we'll eat it before we go home.
Yeah, so that was my grandmother there, just sharing a little bit
Ay,
about
bonita, bonita na biha.
that's no, so yeah, it's making me a little emotional, but that's seeing her there. So yeah, and again, for the audience, for those watching, that these aren't, of course, just all the videos. These are just short snippets of the interviews. All the interviews and much more will be available on the YouTube. And now I'm going to show a video of the Sarahana Mama Chai, and in this she talks about an experience where she was actually, may have been arrested, right? Because she you'll see in this video, but this was a recent experience she had that I would like to share for her. And she talks about how things are different now with all these regulations for picking amots, leaves for medicine compared to back then. You'll see in the video.
One of my grand likes, but they don't really like the way I treat the kids because the kids cry and cry. They don't like that. They scared. But me, if I touch you, I know where is your pain. But my kids, like Marlon, she is scared, very scared. Her heart is not strong. Before, it's not really hard because we can go in. We can go in that jungle. Let's go to Funti. We went there. Let's go to Padang, whatever. We go there. Nobody stopped us. But now, look what happened to us. Ni pabe mapreso, pagugi inam ko, pabe mapreso, pabe maaresta. We only show them what kind of medicine we're only looking. What happened that day, I feel bad. Because it seems like, those people don't realize that I'm going out looking for medicine to cure this person. And maybe not only that person feeling that kind of pain. See? Like you, if you're feeling this pain, somebody come in first than you, and I give you the medicine, it helps you. Not only one person healing. That's why I was really, really mad on that day when they tried to arrest us. We went to Pai. Very hard to go there. Yes, we went. That wave swept us. Lucky they are on my back, holding me, because I was drowned in the beach in Philippines, and that's why I hate beach. But now I sacrifice myself because somebody needs this medicine when we go to Pai. But we don't find. See? So we have to go another place. When we come out, they're gonna arrest us? Why? We are not stealing. And I'm just gonna say this. You guys don't plan this medicine. This is from God. That's why if I go to get medicine, I ask permission. I ask myself, maybe you guys might say, what Mama Chai talking, who she's talking to? But I'm asking, those medicine we did not plan. It's God giving us. I respect my medicine. I wouldn't massage you if past 4 o'clock. I wouldn't give you the medicine to make go around because I asked the medicine to heal people. That is how proud I am that I'm finding the real medicine for you guys. Really, I cannot understand the military. I cannot understand. I keep on thinking that how old I am to go to jail. I know. I keep on telling my kids, hi, here's the key. Mama's going to jail. I don't know, tonight or tomorrow. And what are you talking? They go, oh, the marshal, they're gonna arrest her. I tell them, go ahead, arrest me. But she thought that I'm the Shirohana and they following me. I'm following them. Good, because I got partners to go in that place. Very good, because they're holding my back that I would not be drowned. Imagine, old lady to go to jail for medicine for you people? You don't know whether you're included. At the last, he said, oh, you are similar. I think I know you. My sister goes to you. See? First of all, he made me all scared, and then he told me that. But I keep thinking of that. Why? Why they gonna arrest me? That is not their plans.
Okay, and the last of the newest interviews that we're going to showcase today has to do with someone who is currently in their 90s, and they were there during World War II and vividly remembers the war because they were about 9 or 10 during that time, and they vividly remember it. And for the sake of time, I'm going to stop it after 7 minutes, but you'll still get to see, at least the first 7 minutes. You're going to have to wait till it's fully uploaded on YouTube to see the rest.
We were we were in my house in San Antonio, and we were at the church going to mass on that Sunday morning, and we heard this. We never hear plane flying before that, and when a plane fly over, it's a sound that you never heard. I mean, you hardly hear. So we were surprised. We heard a whole bunch of airplane flying over on south of the church. So some of the people ran out of the church to look at the airplane, but my mother won't let me run out of the church, so she kept me going. Then about a few minutes later, we heard this boom, boom, boom going on further south of us. And then about 10 minutes later, we got somebody from, I think from the commissioner running down the road. They bombarded Sumay. So my mom, there was me, my two sisters, and my brother. Packed us, says, come on, let's go. So she packed a little bit of our clothes, and we walked from there I don't know how we got to Tumon, and we went to Tumon there, and then from there we stayed I can remember we stayed at somebody's house for a couple of hours, and then about 4, I don't remember the time, but closing to evening, my oldest brother came and with the Carabao cart that we have, and they took us from that house out to the ranch in Machanano, which is about from there to it's about 15 miles. And we rode in there and took us home to the Machanano. And good thing we did, because Japanese landed in Tumon Bay, about 3 miles from where we were at the time. So that's how we got away from the landing, from the Japanese landing. And then after they land, the Japanese interpreters that came with the Japanese came up to our places. There's all the men and women 15 and over have to report to the school to sign their name. I was only 9 years old then at the time, so I didn't have to go. But my older brother and sister have to register at the school for the Japanese. But then about a couple of months later, after everything settled down, the Japanese started to open their Japanese school, and everybody is required, every 9-year-old have to register for school as well. Then of course, I was 9, I have to register for school, so I went to Japanese school. When the time we were going to school, the way there was several kids from where I lived that live a little bit further from where I am at, that walked from our house to the school. So every morning I will wait on the road, which is a little bit maybe about quarter of a mile from my house to the road, and we'll wait for the rest of the school, which live little bit further away from further north from where we're at, and we'll wait for them. We'll all gather and we all together walk to the school. And at that time, there was no type of transportation, no bus, no any kind of vehicle, no bicycle, anything. We walked. So we walked for all the kids, and maybe 15, 20 kids from that area all the way up. All of us, we walked that from my age, 9, up to about 15-year-old, we all walked together to the school in the morning, and then after school, we all walk back to our house every day. And as far as lunch is concerned, sometimes during those days, we don't bring lunch. We manage to eat whatever the school have, and sometimes my brothers and sisters, the older ones, if they have anything available at the house, they'll bring it over to the school to feed us. But other than that, that's how we do on a day-to-day basis. Well, other than going to school for the Japanese, my dad, like I said, we're farmers. After we go to school in the morning, and the Japanese put us to work in the field in the afternoon. After we go home, we go and I do my chores, feed the chickens, and what do you call it? Told us to do the chicken runs that I have to feed the chicken that were there. So I do that, and then whatever other farm chores that we have to do. Oh, chicken and the pigs. We got pigs that we have to.
Okay, and unfortunately, we are almost out of time, so we can't share the full video of that one. But again, you could see that video and the rest of all the other interviews that we did and will do and have done, and they will all be uploaded on Manåmko to Manhoben on YouTube.
Sidus Masi. And so I wanted to just share once again. So Hunggan Hano Pari YouTube page, Manåmko to Manhoben. Look at that. Tenesti 73 subscribers. Need more, and necesita más. They need more subscribers. So por favor, if you've enjoyed this episode, if you're watching Hano Pari YouTube, and then subscribe, and at the Nestisia, look at all of these videos that are there. And so, in fact, from our comments, so we didn't get to take the rest of the questions. We had a whole bunch more questions and comments from people watching, ranging from those who enjoyed hearing Mama Chai's voice. It reminded them of home. Those who were suggesting other people that you could interview. Buenas, Tundabit, Sidus Masi, who was mentioning people that you could also talk to learn the history of Nation Chamorro. And so, and just, this episode sort of connected with people in a lot of different ways. And so, por favor, follow on social media, subscribe on YouTube to watch the rest of their videos. And as Pulan said, they will be uploading more and more. But so, so I want to give you this final chance to share any sort of brief concluding thoughts on Manåmko to Manhoben. And for those of you who want more, pegagi comments, por favor, because we can definitely have another episode highlighting more of the videos, answering more of your questions. But okay, por favor.
So just to conclude, again, history, is important, especially history of our people, because history empowers us. We learn about our people because, as Jesus says, it's where we come from. It keeps us rooted to where we are, so we don't get lost in the sauce per se. And at the end of the day, these are our people, and what better history to learn than our people, rather than people who are 8,000 miles away in like Washington, D.C., for example. But yes, again, Manåmko to Manhoben, we like to share the stories of our people.
Sidus Masin. Jesus, any final thoughts to share?
I think that sums it up very nicely. Excellent job, Pulan. I would also say that this this project is also invaluable for people who don't have grandparents anymore, who don't have parents anymore, that they can ask about these things. Because as much as so many of our ancestors of our Manåmko have been lost, many are still here, and many of them remember our grandparents. They were there with them. They know those same stories that they know. So it's always important for us to still appreciate those that are still here, still honor them and respect them and love them.
Si Diyos masi na hamza na dos and todo iman matotso para esti na bunitun sotso Manåmko te Manhoben. Za si Diyos masi no hamzo todos ni umega po me ekungok esti ifinakpo esti na episode Fanachu. Adios, este kimana lihita.